Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's edition of Horse's Mouth Live. I am so excited to be here with you all. And as always, I have great information to help you grow in every aspect of your life, especially your business. And we have a return guest here. I want you to know that I've had some guests come back on the show, but never this quickly. Marcia Martin, who I'm going to give you her official resume or bio in a minute, was on really at the start of the pandemic, and she has such amazing information. It's so usable and landed in such a deep way for me and the people that heard her. I invited her to be back on, and I'm honored to say that she said yes. So let me give you a little bit about Marcia's background if you don't know her. She's a global speaker, a corporate executive coach, a transformational leader, and she's really extraordinary. She's trained over, get this, 300,000 people around the globe to really reach their full potential. And this I don't remember from last time, Marcia, but she's actually Dame Marcia. She was knighted in 2008. I have never had a dame or a knight, or whatever you call the guys that are do. I don't know what's the other side of that, Marcia.
Sir,
What's a guy?
sir.
Sir. Okay, I've never had one of those on our show. I don't even know if I've ever met one, so that's really cool. And she's done all sorts of corporate and entrepreneurial training with really big companies in leadership, communication, collaboration companies like Hard Rock International, Warner Brothers, Evian Water. And what I think is so interesting and why I know Marcia is so effective is that she's one of the founding members and of the Earhart Seminar Training, which was later known as the Landmark Forum, which many of you I know have heard of. And she's like the brilliance behind the scene for training transformational leaders that I know you know of, like Tony Robbins, have you heard of him? Jack Canfield, Lynn Twist, who we were just talking about, who is a mentor of mine and an amazing author of The Soul of Money, T. Harv Eker, and Robert Kiyosaki, just to name a few. So, Marcia, thank you for being back on with us. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you.
Well, I'm so excited too, Ellen, and I so enjoy you, and I enjoy your show and how you interview people and your talent. So it's my pleasure.
Oh, thank you. So, we're going to talk today about how to feel good about selling, how to not feel icky about it, how to have really people also listen to you in a deeper way. I'm really excited about this. When we were, before we went live on the show, Marcia said, and I'm sure you say this again, all there is selling, and selling can be fun. And I think that is a concept that many people would be like, hmm? All there is selling, and selling could be fun, and it just might not make sense for some people. So, before we get into that, or as we're having this conversation, I really want to talk to you about how can we speak in a way that have someone really listen to us.
Oh, great question. So first of all, listening is the second move that you do to be effective. The first move is centering. Centering means that you become present, open, and connected. The second move always is listening, and the third move is speaking. Most people speak first and probably aren't centered or present or open or connected, and then they think listening comes after speaking. But listening is once you've centered yourself and you're here in your body, you're here in present time, you're connected to the person, you're open, then you can get into a space where you actually pretend the person that you're listening to is brilliant. And you consider that whatever they're saying is possible. And from that space, people have a different experience of you when you're listening in that way. And so they are more attentive to you. It's almost like you wake them up to the fact that there is someone present with them. And, the whole communication process expands from there.
So, how would someone center themselves for those people that haven't heard that term before, or maybe certainly haven't thought about it as part of their communication with their clients or whoever else they're talking with?
Perfect. Okay, so first I'm going to explain what off center is. So, off center is when you're not present and you're not connected and you're not open. So, it's that feeling where you're resisting something, you're closed down. It's that feeling where you are thinking about what happened in the past or worried about what's going to happen in the future. You're inside of your head, so to speak, and thinking about something else, kind of daydreaming, but you're not here in this moment with whatever and whoever's in front of you. And so that's present and open. And then connected is this experience where we allow ourselves to understand that everything is connected. We operate in the world as if when we move, we act, we speak, we listen, that it affects everything around us. It's not just we're in some little tunnel by ourselves, but we're connected to the sky, we're connected to other human beings, we're connected to the animal world. We all have a certain energy that runs through all of us that connects at a source point. A lot of people have names for that, whether it's, they say that's a higher power or it's God or it's light or it's whatever. I call it energy. And when we're all knowing that we come from that same energy, then we have this experience. We're all connected. It almost gives us a more empathetic kind of understanding of where we are and what we're doing. So when we're not any of those things, we say we're off center. So you're off center if you're upset, you're mad, you're a little bit terrified, you get thrown off. People get off center when they speak in front of groups because maybe they're not used to it. And so they walk up on stage and all of a sudden they're off center and they're worried about what they're going to say. And so they're not in present time. Or people get off center if somebody that has influence or power over them, maybe their boss or their supervisor says, "Come to my office." And immediately we go to, "Oh, what did I do wrong?" And so it throws us off center. Now, how you get on center, the best way to get back to center is to breathe. And I don't mean just, of course, we're going to breathe because you have to breathe to be alive. But I mean, actually take a deep breath and bring it in and feel it and be conscious of it and kind of settle into the moment of now so you can look around and say, "Oh, here I am here. I'm not in my head. I'm not worried about the past or concerned about the future." So take that breath and get yourself here and settled before you make the next move. And the next move always is listening. Now, you might say a little bit of a question in the beginning, but it's still listening because the question is tiny. It's "How are you?" or "What's up?" or "What do you need?" or something. It's not just, "Okay, now it's my turn to speak," and I start just laying out my whole language to you. It really is just a teeny question that allows you to listen to that person as if they're brilliant and as if what they're saying is possible. Now, the other thing, I have a metaphor, Ellen, and I think this helps people to understand centering. And how I explain it is pretend you're in a boat and you're going down the river and you don't have any control over the river. The river is the river. And what the river is, as a metaphor, is the circumstances, events, opportunities, relationships in your life. It's what's happening to you, it's what's happening around you. Those are things that are going on. Somebody's getting angry and they're doing that at you. Somebody's being sad and they're doing that in front of you. You thought you were going to be able to get something and somebody rejected you and said no. So that's an event that's happening. And that happens around you. So I consider that's the river. Now, what most people try to do in life is change the river. And so I teach people, don't be so concerned about the river. What you should put your attention on is, okay, you're in the boat balancing because you're going down the river, and sometimes the river has rapids. Somebody's mad at you. Sometimes the river goes into a waterfall. Sometimes the river is slow. Sometimes it's fast. So all sorts of events happen. And if we pretend we're in this little boat going down the river, and though we can't change the river, so stop focusing on that, what we do then is we say, okay, am I off balance in the boat? And then the game begins to be, how do I get back balance to be able to balance myself in the boat while I'm going down the river? And that's what centering is. It's being balanced, centered, open, and connected inside of all of the events that are happening in your life. And that's the first move always. Get centered, then action can take place. And the first action needs to be always listening if you want to be really effective.
Gosh, I love that idea of seeing that person is brilliant and what they're saying is possible. So I'm
Yes.
in a kind of online coaching course right now, and they were talking about the judge that we all have, like the judge that we have on ourselves or the way we project that on others. And to have that viewpoint of what you're brilliant, and not in like a BS way, but like really seeing their brilliance and then what they're saying is possible. Can you imagine how that client, when you're dealing with people's money stuff, people have so much embarrassment and shame around money. But if they're in your office and you have this viewpoint of, oh, like that's possible versus that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard, which I
Very
am
good.
sure clients or potential clients have said to advisors, and they've had that thought that's totally unrealistic. But how much I would imagine that that builds a huge amount of trust with the person sitting across from you. Is that right?
Absolutely. We call that generous listening. It's being generous with your listening. And the way that I kind of make people understand how their generous listening works is think about when you're with a child. Most of us either have children or we've been around a kid, so we understand what a kid is. And when they're a tiny little munchkin, 2 and 3 and 4, we have this generous listening. And it doesn't matter what they do. We go, oh, you're so smart. Oh, that was so great. Oh, you did that so well. Oh, you're so brilliant. You see? And that generosity of listening creates an opening into which somebody can come. So it's how they show up for me. If I have a small listening, of judgment, if I think, oh, that's a jerk, or they don't know what they're talking about, that's very small space for that person to show up in. It's like I'm anticipating that's how they're going to show up. So it's like that's the only space I've created for them to show up in. Now, when that happens, the way our mind works is that if we have that kind of judgment, and that closed space about what's possible for them and of them and about them, then what we only see is what we considered we would see. We see what we anticipated. And what's really interesting about human beings is if somebody happens to show up totally different than your anticipation, so if you're out there going, oh, I have to meet with this guy and he's really a jerk, he's really a jerk, he's really a jerk, he's really a jerk, well, usually you'll see something that proves your point when they show up because
Mhm.
that's what you're looking for. But sometimes the person isn't being a jerk that day and actually is fantastic. And even you notice it in spite of the fact that you have this kind of already listening about them. Well, even in that situation, we can't accept it. We'll make up some excuse and say, oh, well, the reason this one time they happened to be brilliant is because, well, something must have happened. And we'll make some excuse that allows us to keep our judgment about the fact that they're a jerk, even though they just proved to us that they actually weren't that much of a jerk this time. So it's interesting. It's a good practice for people. Just consider the possibility, whatever somebody's saying is possible, and that they actually are brilliant.
Oh my gosh, there's so much there. I'm also thinking I want to get into how you empty this technology that you're talking about, emptying someone's space. But I'm thinking that what you just taught us all is probably has much bigger impact in our personal lives than even in our business lives. Yeah,
It's
like,
so amazing.
yeah.
I can't tell you how. Like, I have people in my workshops, and when I do seminars or I have courses, I have them figure out somebody, think of somebody that they're annoyed with, that they're critical of, that they don't respect, that they don't like, whatever. Someone that they will be in touch with in the next week to 2 weeks in their life. but that they have this kind of adverse judgment of. And I give them an assignment to, okay, just before you see that person and talk to them, just consider they're brilliant and that what they're saying is possible. And you have no idea how many people come back and say, oh my God, it changed my whole relationship with this person. It's really a good thing.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, so let's talk about this technology of helping someone empty. What do you mean by that, and how does this relate to what we're talking about with generous listening?
Great. There's a law in the universe that if something is to exist, it has to have space to exist within. So you can consider really there's two things in life. There's space and things in space. And it doesn't matter whether it's an idea or whether it's a table. It has to have space in which to exist if it's going to show up or exist. So the first thing that I do in teaching people communication is teach them how to create space. And people are filled up. Mostly they don't have any space. We are filled up both internally and sometimes externally as well. So there's space internal, then there's external space. Let's talk about the internal space. I have things I'm thinking of, that I'm concerned about, that I'm experiencing, afraid of, that I doubt, that I'm really excited about. All of those feelings, considerations, concerns, thoughts, language, even more of a thing, take up space. So you can feel it sometimes when you're with someone and talking, you just finally go, I don't have any more room to hear anything else. I'm filled up. So people know that when their space is filled up. Most everybody's space is filled up. There's very few people that have space. So when someone shares something, they're giving it to you. That's a process of their emptying out, they're emptying their space. And if you're receiving, you're helping them create space. In that space that you've created and they've emptied out, now you can put something in. But before you've created space and before they have space, you can't put anything in. So we have a bunch of human beings running around. Everybody's trying to put something in, put something in, put something in. And you've got a full person over there filled up, and there's no room. And we get indications all the time that it's not working what we're doing. We'll tell somebody to do something, and we'll give them explicit instructions. And they'll go off and do it a different way than we explain. Well, probably they didn't get it in the way that you get something when there's some space in which it can exist. So how you empty someone out is you receive their concerns, their considerations, their objections, their reasons, their experiences, their emotions. You listen with a generous listening, but while being centered, present, open, connected. And what happens is if you receive and then let them know that you got it, so you would acknowledge and say, thank you. I got that. Oh, I understand. You're not putting anything back in. You're just taking things out. And you let them roll. And they will run on and roll. Trust me. If you give a person some silence, in that silence, they'll be so uncomfortable, they'll have to talk. And they'll start talking. And first, they'll give you all their automatic stuff. Especially in selling, this is a good thing to know because people have automatic resistance, automatic no's, automatic the reasons I'm not going to do this. And they haven't even really looked at their own experience to see if they want something. They're just automatically saying, no, I don't want it. I don't want to be sold. Please take it away. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough whatever. Well, if you're present, open, connected, centered, and if you listen generously and you actually receive what they're giving you without putting anything back in for a period of time and acknowledge that you got it, you start emptying out all of these things that they're sending. And what will happen eventually, and it doesn't take that long really, is they will get to a place in themselves where they don't have any automatic reasons anymore. They run out of them, and then they have to actually look to see what's so. And if you have asked them a question like, hey, do you think this would be valuable for you? That's a question they have to look to see if it would be valuable for them. But because they have all of these automatic answers already, you have to kind of get them. That's emptying them out. No, it wouldn't be. I'm already tried that. Somebody tried it before. I tried it before. It didn't work, and I don't want it, and blah, 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 blah. And then they run out of that because you're receiving and emptying their space. Then what they will do, and you can always tell when they're doing it, because they'll look up or they'll look to the side or they'll look down because they're accessing their experience, and they will find what's so for them. Now, my way of selling is for them to find what's so for them. It's not to tell them what's so for them. It's not to talk them into anything. It's to share an experience of something that I think is valuable and then to ask them a question. Do you think this would be valuable for you? And then to be there while they empty out to a point to look. Now, if they look and they find out, no, it's not going to be valuable for me, I go, okay, fine. But usually people look and find out, yeah, I think it would be valuable. So they're getting in touch with their desire. And if they desire it and you're with them kind of through the next phase of what we call selling, they'll end up talking themselves into buying. You don't have to talk anybody into buying something that they want. They talk themselves into it themselves. But that first process is emptying out so they have some space to even consider, do I want this? Would this be valuable? You see, because they can't even notice that unless there's some space for them to look to see what the answer is for themselves.
So, talk a little bit more, Marcia, about this idea that all there is selling and that selling can be
Yeah,
fun.
I love this. So, as you said, I was one of the original founding members of S, and my whole day was spent, which became Landmark. In the day, we sold books. That was what Werner Erhard did in the early days. And so I went door to door, knocking on doors, selling encyclopedias. That's how I was trained in communication and sales, selling. In the afternoon, when we get home from the field, then we got on the phones and we would call the people that had come to the guest seminars the night before to find out about the training, and then we would enroll them into the training on the phones. And then at night, I was in the guest seminar, leading the guest seminar, so then I was doing it that night, selling. So my job in life kind of had real things to sell. And so I always knew that I was selling. But then Werner put a really great perspective to it. What he used to say is life is a guest seminar, and people don't know that. What he meant was whatever you're doing, you're in some guest seminar hearing somebody else present whatever they want you to buy or what they want to enroll you into, or you're sitting at the front of the guest seminar and you're telling somebody else what you want them to enroll into. And because there are certain products that some people sell, then we think, oh, they're salespeople. But think how many times you wanted somebody to go with you to the movies and you needed to enroll them because they had something else that they were going to do. Or maybe you wanted to take someone on a date. Or maybe you wanted somebody to marry you. Or maybe you wanted to negotiate a better price on a house you were buying and you wanted to sell your idea that it should cost less. You can't think of anything that you're doing in life that isn't convincing someone else that the way that you want to do it is better than whatever is there. That's selling. I'm enrolling you. So when we take the perspective, life is a guest seminar, instead of the perspective, some people are salespeople and some people aren't, well, it shows up differently for us because that's a different kind of assumption. Well, if all there is selling and life is a guest seminar, well, then I come from that's all there is, then I want to be effective. If I come from I'm not a salesman, I'm an artist, which is ridiculous because at some point, if you're an artist, don't you want to have somebody buy your painting? And then we say, well, somebody else does the selling. No, you got to sell somebody to do the selling. You got to talk somebody in that they should represent you. So, take it back to the nth degree. I'm telling you that little kids know that. I want a sucker when they go to the grocery store and they have to talk their mother into but it's okay. I don't care. Or I want to have dessert before we have dinner. I mean, either the mom is selling the kid on, you have to eat your dinner first, or the kid is selling the mom on, you have to have the dessert first. It's like, that's all there is. If I accept that and allow that, then it shows up differently for me. It doesn't show up that it's bad or it's good. It just shows up it is. And so then the normal kind of course response to that needs to be, well, I might as well have fun with it and get good at it and figure out what it's about. And then we can start exploring and discovering how to be an expert. So that's kind of how I look at everybody's salesman. That's all there is, honey. Life is a guest seminar.
I'm thinking about this show that my husband and I are watching on Netflix called Velvet, and it's with Spanish subtitles, and I love it. And I would have been finished with it if I was just watching it by myself, but I feel like I'm selling him every evening on, can we please, please, please watch an episode of Velvet? Um, and so I'm curious with this attitude of it could be fun and um, like what are some either ways we can be around trying to convince other people to something we think will add value for them or uh, questions we can ask or things we can say that um, go along with what you've taught us already about generous listening and emptying people out? Like, are there certain ways that we can present our ideas to people? And we don't have much time. I know this could be like a 2-day workshop, Marcia. I'm well aware of that. So maybe just one
Well,
or two really great tips.
first of all, with regards to you and your husband, you shouldn't sell him on watching the movie. What would be more inspirational for him is to enroll him into and invite him and share your experience of how much you love cuddling with him on the couch. And would that be something he might want to do too while you watch the movie? So part of it is, what are we selling? You see? The other part is that always remember, it's not a you kind of expression. In other words, I'm not telling you what you'll get out of it. I'm not telling the benefit for you. That's preaching. That's telling somebody else what their experience is. How one really enrolls people is to tell what I feel about it, why I'm so excited, what I've gotten out of it in a way that's inspirational, and they can say, oh, I want some of that too. One way, you're pushing it, telling them what they should do, and they will automatically resist. The other way is you're saying, hey, here's what's going on with me, and oh, I'm having such a ball, and it's so fabulous, and hey, what do you think? Is this something you might like to do? And then that gives them the space to look, plus there's no resistance. Inspiration is when you speak from your heart and you're authentic. When you share what's going on with you in an inspirational way, what happens is that person gets to be able to look at if they would like something like that in their life. So they're pulled toward you rather than you being behind them, pushing them into something. You're really in front of them, clearing the space for them to find out that they want it.
Is that the difference between selling and enrolling?
Yes. Now, they're both the same, just so you know. I just made up the word enrolling because people have such bad connotations of selling. I thought, well, we need to use a different word. It's the same thing, but now I make a distinction, and I say what I mean by selling is old age. I'm going to tell you what you want, tell you what you need, tell you what you can afford. Enrolling is, I'm going to share my heart and my experience and present something to you and have you look to see what your choice is and to support your choice, not to try to talk you into my choice. So it's a whole different, it's almost exactly the opposite. It's like, is this something that you would want, need, and can afford? Not me saying, this is something you need, you could afford, and you want. Totally different process.
Yeah, and I think that this is probably a challenge for many advisors who have this expert status. Like I know and being able to really offer something that they believe would support someone, but not saying like you really need this, because it also makes them feel like there's something wrong with them as well.
Yes,
So not with this energy of you're brilliant and whatever you say is possible.
yes. Well, in people like the people that you work with, financial advisors, see, what I would start with is I'd get myself centered, present, open, connected, and then I'd ask a question and listen. What are some of the things that are stopping you from having what you want in your life? What are the obstacles that you feel are in the way of living your best life? What are the things that haven't worked for you in the past? What are some of the things you tried that didn't work? What have you done with a past advisor that didn't quite work out? I can think of 1,000 questions, right? And then listen, 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 acknowledge, empty out, empty out till there's some space. And then it's a question that allows them to go inside. Okay, if you found something that might be different than what you've done, but you thought that it might be more valuable than what you are doing, would you be willing to learn a little bit more about it? Now that causes them to look. And if they say yes, it's just given me permission to present whatever it is that I'm selling or enrolling them into.
That's brilliant, and I'm not just saying that because I'm supposed to listen to you as if you're brilliant, you are. So, Marcia,
Thank
you
you.
have, like, such a huge amount of, um, just brilliance again, but, information, and we only have a short amount of time here. Will you share with us how people listening or watching this can learn more about you and all of the incredible expertise that you have to share?
Oh, thank you, Ellen. I have this really special thing I'm really excited about, which is my membership club. And you can find out about it if you go to marciamartinclub.com. And what we've done, myself and my team, is we've taken all my past, not all of them, we're working on it, but many, many, many years of past workshops, seminars, speaking engagements like this, and interviews. And we've uploaded them to create this club, which is kind of like a Marcia Martin Netflix. And so essentially, it's a place, and it's only $10 a month. I mean, everybody's just crazy mad at me because they say you should charge more. And my intention for the club is that people get the wisdom. I'm in the last quarter of my life. I want to give away what I've learned and what made my life so beautiful and so unique and so satisfying and fulfilling. And one of the ways I can do that is create a way where people can get in touch with some of the things that I know and maybe get value from them. And so when you go to the club, you just pick something that you want to watch, a workshop, a seminar. The seminars and workshops cost people $1,200 and $1,300 and $1,400 to go to for 3 days. And you can watch it just by taking a module at a time in the convenience of your own home and the convenience of your own time. So that's a way that people can connect with me. I'm going to start doing some live events there, and they can join the club, and it would be my pleasure. I hope people do that.
I hope they do too. And
Oh,
really, for $10 a month, which is less expensive than Netflix, and will most
yeah.
likely help you feel better and grow personally and professionally, please go to marciamartinclub.com and learn more. And Marcia, thank you so much for being with us today. It's really an honor, and I've learned so much from you in the short time that we've been able to spend together. So thank you so much.
My privilege. Thank you, Ellen.
And thank you to all of you out there listening, whether you're watching us live or listening to the replay. I'm really grateful that you're here. And just wanted to share with you something I'm super excited about. I've been partnering with Horse's Mouth, and we have a course that's starting on the beginning of November, a 7-week course called The Extraordinary Advisor. And if concepts that Marcia shared with you are really interesting to you, how can you be more present with people? How can you communicate in a deeper, more authentic way? Um, this is something that's probably right for you. Each week, we're going to talk about a different area that I personally know have helped me become a top producer when I had my firm. And I just know I've been in the industry for a very long time, and I haven't really seen people sharing this information about how to talk about what your superpower is, about how to be more present and have the right mindset, how to have a generosity focused marketing plan. So, if you want to find out more about this, and you can also watch a replay of webinar that I gave on finding your superpower. You can go to horsesmouth.com/superpower. And below that, there's a couple buttons. One that you can find out more about the Extraordinary Advisor course. And one that if you think like maybe it's for you, but you're not sure, you can click on and we can schedule a time to have a conversation. And I promise I'll use what I just learned from Marcia about knowing that you're brilliant and what you have to say is possible. I promise I'll do that. But we'd really love you to join us if this feels like it's right for you. And today is the last day to get the early bird discount. So you guys are all financial people. You know that that's a good thing to get a deal. So it's $200 off the investment in the course. So I hope you'll take advantage of that. And again, thank you for being here with us. It's such an honor for me to get to share this time with you. And as always, the question to ponder is, how big of a positive impact are you willing to make? Remember to be great and create